Welcome back to another episode of Blue Collar Happy Hour. We have here a real-life Mad Max. This guy welds things into existence that shouldn't even exist. Bradey, how's it going today?
It would be tough to be any better.
I love that answer.
Great. What do you think of the studio in here? Was it what you thought it would be?
It's not. It is very cool though. Like the couch is out in the waiting room and the fridge. Obviously, the bar suits me very nicely.
Nice.
So that's
good. You're at home already. This is great.
I feel like it. Yes.
So, Bradey, you do welding for a living, right?
I do.
How long have you been welding?
Since 2005, so I'll be close to 18 years this year.
Damn. You're getting old, dude.
It's putting in the
No,
work.
I started when I was 2.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I've been sober for 11 years, and then I turned 12.
Nice. That's good.
Yeah.
So
Congratulations.
How do you get into welding? What was the first thing that was like, all right, I'm going to get into this industry? What drew you in?
So I originally started when I was in the Army, and it was on our second deployment. First sergeant came down to the motor pool and asked if anybody knew how to weld, which that would be an overstatement. I had welded before. I did not know how to weld.
So you were like, yep, I do. Or did you just volunteer?
Pretty much, yes.
Like, yeah, I took a class in high school.
Not even that. So I had literally borrowed a welder before and welded one time, and that was before I even joined the Army. So
It had been a while.
I said, yeah, I've done that before.
and then they're like, all right, you're our guy. You're a welder now. And then so from there, you just got thrown into it. You're just like feast or famine. You just kind of learn as you go.
Yeah, absolutely. It was
Did you have veterans there, like, now obviously literal veterans? Did you have like the more knowledgeable guys there that you could learn off of too?
No.
I meant veterans in
No,
the
we
industry. Not
I was
like
so
actual
confused for a second, but I get what you're saying, bro.
So, but we were, I mean, it was while we were in Iraq. And
Okay.
the whole reason they wanted it is because we were losing trucks and taking casualties and that stuff. So
Got it.
they wanted more armor than what we had on the trucks.
Oh shit! So you're like welding up plates on trucks in the
Yes.
field, and
Yep.
oh my god! So now
Yeah, so
not only are you put into this situation where it's like, I don't know if I actually know how to do this. It's like now you're essentially putting other people's lives in your hands and your work that you're doing too.
It wasn't me putting their life in their hands.
Right.
Well, that was definitely up to the people shooting at us.
Yeah. But you are
on
you are
them.
providing the first line of defense here on the vehicles.
Correct.
That's wild.
Correct. So
was
it
that a little bit stressful?
Not at the time because everybody was so appreciative of it
Yeah.
that, I literally at that point, that deployment ended up being 15 months. And we were probably 2 to 3 months into it when I started welding, and I welded for a year straight for probably 15 to 18 hours a day.
Holy
It
shit.
was.
That's some training there.
So I would imagine, I mean, like, you got it down pretty quick, I would think. If you're doing it that much and that often.
I did, and that was stick welding. So that's like
okay.
the primal form of welding that's been around for probably close to 120 years.
That's
now,
what I
so-
think of when I think of welding. Is you got the stick, you're making that nice bead.
Yeah.
That's about as far as my knowledge goes.
Yeah, I don't know anything. So, like, walk us through what's, like, some common types of welding that I guess in the industry that you would go into, different sectors.
So you have arc welding, which is stick welding, and it's just a metal rod that's covered in a flux, which actually protects the weld from outside air, so it doesn't get contaminants in the weld.
Okay. So it doesn't, like, rust out? Or what's a
No, not even
contaminant? What
necessarily
would
that.
contaminate it?
Literally any type of air in the weld. There's obviously stuff that can be in the metal that will not make it as strong, but it's mostly just any kind of outside air, so that when that flux burns away, it creates a shield around the actual metal arc that's melting the metal.
Yep.
And does not allow contaminants into it. So a lot of the times when air gets into a weld, it'll literally have air bubbles in it and that weakens the weld.
Oh, okay. And obviously now the welding industry, I feel like the general idea of it is like, you want to make some real money? Go do underwater welding in the Navy. Like that's what everyone says. Is that true? Is that a thing? Is underwater welding like the only spot where you're making a shit ton of money?
No, that's not. It's not the only place. It's a very just kind of a obviously a finite certification. Not everybody that welds is going to be an underwater welder.
Are they making the big bucks? Like what is the underwater
I would
guys?
say so.
What are the underwater
I'd
guys
hope
making?
so.
They maybe do $350 a year, so it's
Oh wow, okay.
decent. I mean,
yeah, that's pretty good. That's a lot better than I guess I thought it would be.
Yeah, that's good money.
I had
30
recently,
grand a month or so.
Yeah, that's. I mean, shoot, I could really get myself in some serious trouble with 30 grand a month. That'd be nice.
I would like to.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I had just heard a story recently about a guy that I knew that had a buddy that did underwater welding, and he said like the big ass fish and animals that you see in like some of these bridges that you're working on, and or clay banks. He said he almost got swallowed by this massive catfish one time.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
He said he was by a catfish where its mouth was damn near the size of his body. He was like, holy shit.
Yeah, the width of his mouth was the length of his entire existence. Yeah.
Yeah, he said it's just some crazy shit out there that you just
I've
don't
heard
think
that
about.
so many times.
Where
And
it's
I
like
wonder how
fish.
many of those stories are true, where it's like,
Or they're just trying to scare
those
you.
things are fucking huge. Or are they this close to you? And it's like, whoa, it's really big.
Just freaking out. Yeah. No, that makes sense. So now, is that kind of what's the bottom to the top pay structure of someone who wants to get into welding? Like, if you want to start, where would you go? What would you start doing?
Well, now, they have high school welding classes and that kind of stuff. You can go to vocational schools. Most of them will have decent programs to really learn the basics. You're welding 2x4 little sheared pieces of metal.
Yeah.
And the absolute basic.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing that, that's not showing
Just an
you
introduction. I'm talking like into the pay field. Like you're making this a career. You're getting paid for it. What is the path to start out look like? Like if someone listening right now wanted to do it, what would be the first step?
So, I mean, with almost anything in any trade, your biggest success rate is going to depend on seat time. So, if you really want something, practice.
Yeah.
Constantly.
What do you suggest? Like just getting a little welder for the garage and start whipping shit up in your spare
That's
time?
one way to do it.
Start Mad Maxing your 99 Buick LeSabre that you got sitting in the backyard?
Unless it's clean, don't touch that thing.
Yeah. They're getting harder and harder to come
when
by.
it comes to the pay rate for welders, I always I've seen some videos or whatnot of people will go in and they'll do their weld test, and then from your weld test, that's where the instructor, the owner, whoever decides your pay rate just off of how you weld, off your bead.
Oh, I didn't know
So
that.
someone could come in, he could be a $15 an hour welder, or he could be a $60 an hour welder, just based off their skill can get you that much of a pay difference at the same place.
I see. Yeah, that makes total sense. So basically, is that a common thing in the welding trade?
That's always going to depend on what exactly you're applying for.
Oh, okay.
Because there are
And
$15
where you're
an
at.
hour welders, and there are $60 an hour welders.
Yeah.
But
So now, did you obviously used to weld in the service? You started.
Yeah. I was making like almost $2.40 an hour.
Wow,
Racking it.
that's crazy.
That was only
insane.
like 15 years ago. But they pay you for 24 hours, so you get a little bit of that when you're sleeping.
Yeah.
Some
Okay.
when you're eating.
Okay. So that's not as bad, so to speak, but you're also still over there for, what'd you say, 15 months?
Yeah, the second one is 15.
That's got to be tough. What's that like, staying over there for that long with all the crazy shit going on around you?
So I was young. I turned 20. I would have turned 23 on my second deployment.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so you're a young buck. You're
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
you're,
yeah.
are you with it? You're like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm supporting the cause. I'm here. I'm
Yep.
ready to kill some shit.
Yep. Before I knew. But yeah, I was there. I was all in it, and I'm still glad that I did it.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess I don't know where I was going with that, young and
Just a hellraiser.
So, yeah,
Ready
absolutely.
Ready to let her rip.
You're ready
Yeah.
to let her rip. Your ambition is a lot bigger than what you realize the end goal is here.
right.
So at what point, or I guess when you got out, did you go work for someone else doing welding?
I did. So I went to Dunwoody a month after I got out of the Army.
Okay.
I went to Dunwoody. I didn't finish their program because I wasn't super impressed with it, because at that point I went back to welding 2x4 tickets that were sheared out, and they're
Yep.
like, that looks really good. And I was like, I know it.
And you'd already seen some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I know it. And I've only been stick welding. But like the first day, I remember my first day at Dunwoody, I was like 3 hours late because I'd been plowing the night before, and literally went straight from plowing to Dunwoody. I was like, I'm here. And they're like, that's great. We're going to the shop. And they showed us torch welding, which I had never done before.
Yep.
And that's probably the second most simple form of welding. Maybe the third, because MIG welding is definitely easier than torch welding.
Okay. So you get into this, you go work for someone else. At what point, obviously now you work for yourself. What point did you realize, like, yeah, I got to do this on my own? I can't work for someone else.
I still work full time for Twin City Fab.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
So-
you started your own side gig.
Yes.
At what point did that seem like a lucrative idea where it's like, okay, this makes sense for me?
So when I got out of Dunwoody, like I said, I didn't finish Dunwoody's program. I went through to the most of it, and then as soon as I got a job, literally from going to Dunwoody, they're like, yeah, we called you back because you went to Dunwoody. I was like, well, I'm still going, but I don't have to if you don't want me to.
Yeah.
And that was in Cambridge. I was welding for Schlegel, and we did basically industrial farm equipment, so grain feed and seed distribution systems. And
Yep.
that was cool because that introduced the next kind of learning phase for me, where we'd get a pallet of cutout material that we had to form and roll ourselves, and
Damn.
it was a whole different aspect that
So-
I had never done.
So now you're not only just doing the welding, you're doing the pre-production, you're doing the post-production, you're kind of
Yeah.
start to finish, you're kind of refining this
Right.
thing.
I mean, we'd essentially get a work order. You say, this is for a cone type distributor that has 8 ducts on it that are all 12 inches, and that, they feed into the top. There's a spout that turns around each different duct for whatever silo it goes to, or however they work. And, but I had never done that aspect of it before.
Yeah. So now, at what point were you like, well, I'm doing all this side work, I'm going to make this legit, and this is going to be a real thing that I'm going to try to crack away on here?
So that wasn't until after I worked for Dufresne, which was right after Schlegel. I went through and then started doing a lot more TIG welding on both stainless steel and aluminum, which I had done in school.
Okay, so what's the deal? I don't mean to derail the conversation at all
No.
here, but what's the deal with aluminum welding? Like, why does everyone say that, like, aluminum welding is, like, the specialty of all specialties?
I'm not sure.
What makes it, like, so difficult? People say, like, I can weld two pop cans together. Like, what's the deal with that? You know what I'm talking about? That's what
Yeah,
everyone
the welder's
says.
Oh, yeah.
flex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like with both steel and stainless, if you're TIG welding it, it shows heat patterns, like in the metal itself.
Yep.
Steel will turn blue, stainless will turn purple and blue and a whole bunch of different colors. Aluminum doesn't have any heat signature in it, so you literally have to watch for a puddle. So you have
Okay.
to wait until, if you're TIG welding it, there's a couple different forms of aluminum welding too, but if you're TIG welding it, you step on a pedal that controls your amperage, and you'll have your tungsten within like anywhere from a 16th to an eighth away from the material, and just kind of wait until it liquefies, and then you add rod into that for aluminum TIG welding.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's just a little bit more meticulous of a procedure, you would say.
Yes.
It takes a little bit more patience, a little bit more surgeon-like coordination, maybe.
Correct.
So before we get back into you making your side gig a little more legit, we kind of skipped over the different types of welding. And if you could just run us through what different types there are.
Yeah.
Walk us through this like we're kindergartners, because I have no idea. I've welded one time in my whole entire life.
It was most likely MIG, would be my guess.
And it was like I'm holding this thing and I'm touching it to this other thing, and I don't even know what's going on.
Did you have to clamp a stick into a clamp, or did the gun that you were holding have a trigger on it?
I don't know, man. I was in the trailer park. There was vases everywhere full of this unknown liquid. I might have been in a meth lab, honestly. I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't know.
Be careful welding.
I don't know what kind of welding I was doing even.
Be careful welding in those. I hear they blow up every once in a while.
There's some flammable material around, I would say. Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know. So walk us through this like we're kindergartners. Torch welding is what? What's the material look like? What that your hands are holding? What are you doing?
So you'll have literally a torch with, they call it a welding head. It mixes oxy and acetylene gas together. And you'll, look for a small blue flame, and then you also have a filler rod with that. You can fuse it, but you'll have a filler rod with that. And once it starts melting, you add filler rod in, and then just
drip
kind
it
of
along.
just kind of find your flow and
Just
make a
drip
weld.
it along
Yep.
and put two pieces of metal together. Unreal.
Yep.
So you're kind of the way that I'm receiving this from you is that you're like, yeah, it is what it is. It's no big deal.
I'm probably really bad at explaining it. I don't know.
You've been doing it for so long. It's just so easy.
Right. That could
Yes.
that could be.
You're like,
Maybe.
I've
I don't mean
been
to get
under
cocky
high
about it.
pressure situations. I was welded in a goddamn battlefield. I don't give a shit about this.
Yeah,
Just
I mean,
do
that
pop
sounds
can.
like
Right,
some of the
right.
best training to get someone into the game possible.
Talk about high pressure scenarios for training too, where it's like, holy shit. Okay, I'll rewind it back before you get into the rest of the welds. What was some of like the craziest things you saw with some of the stuff you welded? I would imagine there's had to have been shrapnel blown through steel plates, maybe bullets.
Yeah.
What's like the craziest thing that you can remember from that
So-
era that relates back to your welds?
I know. So the first time I was in Iraq before we left, it was the first time I had ever seen the aftermath of an EFP, which is an explosively formed platter charge. And it looked like a gigantic forklift ran into the side of an armored truck. It went through the armored doors, through the battery boxes,
Damn.
through the transmission tunnel, through the transmission, and
What?
ended up underneath. So it came from the passenger side and it ended up underneath the driver's side.
Holy shit.
Through an
So
armored,
what
That's
is
crazy.
what
An
is that?
armored
What
truck.
explodes? Is it what's it? I mean, is it like literally a plate that they drive over and it detonates, or
Nope. So this one was roadside, and it is basically a copper plug that is however big of the size of tubing that they use. They pound the copper into it with explosives behind it. When it explodes, it turns into a liquid teardrop that goes through armor fairly easily.
So it's just like molten copper dumped all over whatever it is.
Wow.
Yeah,
Jesus.
shooting at it. So,
And this was 15 years ago.
yeah, just over.
So what do you think is out there right now?
It's terrifying.
I mean,
Probably similar. So I heard that our CIA showed them how to make those. I'm not sure why they would do that, or even if it's true.
for what reason?
But I
What
guess-
incentive? What's the motivation there? Make it. We want to make
It
it a
would
little
be
bit more
nice to know,
challenging.
wouldn't
Let me put you guys on game here real quick.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be nice to
We wa-
know if that is true. why is that true? Like, what?
Yeah. Maybe a little money going. Maybe a little money being exchanged or something.
It was probably more than a little.
Yeah.
If that's the root behind it, it's probably more than a little.
Let's keep it rolling.
So what's that? When you said you were in Iraq.
Yes.
What's that plane ride like when you're on your way out there for your deployment?
The best part.
It's the best part?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think I'd be sitting there like, holy fuck.
No, that is the best part because we fly into Kuwait on a commercial flight, carry our sidearms and our guns onto the plane, which is fucking sweet.
That's so pretty bad.
Stewardess like,
whoa.
Yep.
We're safe on this
Some
flight.
bad motherfuckers
like,
here.
Just point your barrels towards the outside of the plane because it's going to matter because the outside of the plane is, 4 feet closer than the other side of the plane, which is 8 feet away.
Right.
So
yeah. They want to minimize other passengers.
It's not like we have magazines loaded when we're flying to Kuwait.
When you're flying to Kuwait commercially, are you with like civilians too?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
so that's what I was gonna say. So there's no one else on the plane that's like, what the fuck? All these guys with all these guns getting on right now.
It makes me wonder, and that was, our company filled up a commercial flight essentially. So it's, I don't know if you got smaller special forces companies or whoever it is, spit teams and all that fly in, and there are civilians there or contractors,
right?
Which they'd be used to it anyway.
Yeah, right. No, that makes sense. So now back to explaining the welds. Now, TIG.
Hold on, before we get into that.
Yeah.
Because that's just into Kuwait.
Oh, yeah,
so then we take a C-130 into Iraq from Kuwait right into Baghdad International Airport. So they have 4 rows of cargo seating in this, C-130s can fit trucks and cargo and all sorts of
shit. Now, C-130's got the big drop gate on the back of it?
Yep, the big drop gate, 4 props.
Yeah. See, this is like the stuff you see on movies.
Yes.
People are running off this ramp and parachuting down.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Those ones. So when we get in them, they just have 4 rows of cargo seats because we got, 200 guys going in there.
Yep.
So you pick your side, and when you sit down, you have your rucksack backwards on you, so it's in front of you. It's not on your back.
Yep.
And you wait for the guy next to you and the guy across you to sit down, and then the guy across from you, his knee is in between your legs.
So you're tight.
Oh yeah, your rucksacks, they're right up against each other. Your face. Oh yeah.
You're touching sacks on the C-130.
Pretty normal stuff in the Army.
Yeah, that's what
they don't talk.
That's what I've heard.
But
so you're flying in. Where are you flying on the C-130? AC-130.
So basically just flying from Kuwait right into Baghdad, and I guess I don't remember what elevation it was, but I do remember the combat landings.
So is that that's a rougher style landing? It's like we got to go now.
We
got to get down. They
let you know. The lights go out of the plane because those things are loud. People know when they're on. They're loud.
Yeah.
And I want to say it started around 20,000 feet. Lights would go out, and the plane would pitch completely sideways, and then make a left turn, essentially.
And just drop.
Engines would go off. Turn the engines off. So you're dropping. Completely silent. You can hear the wind and all that stuff because those things they're rattle cans. Those things have been around since the 60s.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Drop, and as soon as... So you're essentially almost straight down. As soon as that plane starts to turn the next time the engines refire, it does 2 loops and boom, you're on the ground.
Holy shit.
It's fucking,
damn.
It is sweet.
That's insane. So they do it like that just so you're not spending all this time kind of floating in. You're not like a sitting duck as a target.
Those things are huge. So yeah, they wouldn't be...
pretty easy target for someone to hit if they got the right shot.
Right. So
God, that's
I'm
insane.
not kidding. Probably
so that's the best part of going over there is the ride in.
I would say so, yeah.
And then it's all downhill from there, or what?
Yeah. Until you fly out, that's a pretty good day.
Then the ride back, you're like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
do
my
a normal
God,
landing
God.
that time, but
yeah. You're
So-
landing back in the States. You're like,
Like,
okay.
this shit sucks.
Yeah. Back to
Yeah.
normal temperatures.
Well, I mean, even then, you go, you fly back to Kuwait, and then I was stationed in Germany, so I would go into Germany, and then,
That's sweet.
maybe come back here, maybe not. I guess probably the next coolest flight, or flights, I should say, was on our second deployment when we had a lot of helicopters getting shot down, or shot at the very least.
Okay.
Their TTP to avoid that was flying lower and faster. So you're in a Black Hawk helicopter going from base to base to, fix trucks or weld or whatever it was. And those things will go, I think they fly like 225 miles an hour.
Holy shit. I could not imagine in
15
a
to
helicopter
30
doing that.
feet over buildings with both side doors open. And then you got their crew chiefs in there. They're their gunners. Mini guns, the Modusas are friggin' M240 Bravos out each door.
You're just hauling.
And you're like, this is in Vietnam shit, man. This is badass. I'm an actual badass right now. First time ever.
Yeah. This is what you
it's
see
like
in the movies.
That's exactly what it was. It was so cool. It's like, oh yeah, there's still a bunch of people that want to kill us. But
Oh, Jesus.
it was cool.
Yeah, it's got to be weird when you wake up in the morning and it's like, you're a little sleepy and then it's like, holy shit, I'm in a battleground right now. Like, shit could pop off at any moment.
So there is that. I've been woken up by rockets coming through the walls.
Holy fuck.
So it's not just like, I'm a little sleepy. It's like, holy fuck.
Shit's going down.
Oh,
right now.
shit.
Yeah. So that kind of stuff. And then it's, you also wake up on a cot,
Yeah.
usually still in your pants.
Damn.
So
And how? I've heard it's like super hot during the day and super cold at night. Is that true?
So when it gets down to anywhere between 50 and 60 at night from being 110 to 120 in the day, it feels super cold.
Yeah. That's got to feel like it's freezing.
Yeah.
Like-
I mean, just a 60-degree temperature swing, and it's like you've been sweating all day at that point, too, so
Yeah.
you're wet
Oh,
when it gets cold.
that sucks. And now drinking water is a huge thing over there because, like, sleep deprivation on top
Yeah.
of maybe.
That's why I don't do it
may-
anymore.
Yeah.
I haven't drank water since September,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah, you can't. That stuff. That
No,
stuff will
I'm
kill you.
overloaded. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that stuff will kill you. So
I had
over
to cut
there,
back.
I've heard that they just got to be chugging water. Does everyone just carry gallons of water around with them?
Yeah, there was a lot of palletized water sitting around on almost every base we went to.
That's crazy.
You'd keep a case in the truck if there was 2 in there.
How'd they keep
It's-
the water from getting like contaminated? Was that a big deal where people would get like bad stomach aches and
It was
shit from the
so
water?
it was literally almost all bottled water that we drank.
Oh, okay.
Almost all of it
And it all gets shipped in from the States
Yeah.
or what? Damn.
from somewhere.
Yeah, from somewhere. Probably some pump house back behind Iran. They got goats
Put
on
some
a
of
wheel.
those tablets in that one.
Yeah, the chlorine tablets. Let's clean this up a little bit. Yeah, they got the Flint, Michigan of Baghdad out there supplying water to the troops. Yeah. Okay. Back to the different types of welding now.
Yeah, we can
What-
fly.
what-
we
what
can
did
fly
you
through
do?
those at those points.
What did you use when you were over there? Did you pretty much just only do?
So
TIG
we
welding?
literally found a stick welder. We didn't because I was in an MP company, so it's not like I was a maintenance company that has that stuff.
Yep.
We found a stick welder, and we bought steel from the Iraqis.
Okay. So
So way overpriced.
Oh,
By
wow.
the way,
yeah, they're
extremely
taxing you on it
overpriced.
because they're like, well, why
we
do we
taught
give it to
them
you?
all about capitalism, so they're like, hell yeah.
Make a quick buck.
Oh, this cost me $1. Here, maybe you pay 1,000.
Mm-hmm. I would not be surprised at that ratio.
So I had also heard that over there they just burn through gas like crazy in all these machines. They're just constantly running through diesel fuel out there because
Yeah,
they're leaving
so-
these vehicles run 24/7.
JP8. But I mean, like, when I got there, the power grid is down. I mean, essentially taken out by us. Same with all their trash services. So you show up in Iraq, you're like, this place is a shithole. Well, it wasn't before we got there.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh.
Saddam kept a pretty tight ship.
Damn.
That's what I heard.
I've heard it was nice. But, I went in early 2004, and, like, during training, you go to, like, MOUT training, which is movement on urban terrain. And, like, we had stuff set up. We had training areas set up in Germany, and, it would be like basically a small city. And they're like, go, you run through this, you clear buildings, you pull security, you do all that. And, you'd go into a room and there'd be an instructor in there, and you'd clear the room, and, there's like maybe a couch in there, maybe a chair or a table, something. He's like, there's a Coke can on the floor over there. You guys are all dead. You got to watch for shit like that because it'll kill you.
Like implying like that could be a bomb?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it was like, I mean, what's the harmless Coke
It's like,
can?
shit, I drank a Coke
Right.
earlier today.
Yeah.
That shit'll kill
Watch
you.
it
All those
will.
artificial sweeteners.
They weren't talking about the artificial sweeteners.
Yeah, I would imagine that those guys probably are not big on the food pyramid out there.
No.
Yeah.
So then you actually show up to Iraq, and there's trash stacked for 4 feet on either side of any road inside the city. So it's like, ooh, watch out for that.
Yeah, it must smell good around there too then.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah,
I had heard that there's not a lot of plumbing over there as well.
correct.
Just kind of like pooping and peeing everywhere.
No, I mean, some of the houses have plumbing, and then it just runs out to the road.
Out to the
Not
street.
under the road.
Right.
On the road.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you're like driving through it
Oh, yeah.
on the roads.
Yeah.
So like the machines start smelling.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
God.
sounds terrible.
I think there's a lot worse things going on, but that definitely is a bad one.
That's one of the
Yeah.
shitty ones. Well, actually, I remember because I remembered, like, my first deployment, we worked out of a tent in South Baghdad, right up from, I'm not going to remember if it's Euphrates or Tigris River, but it was close to water. That stunk too. And you'd be down there working with both hands underneath the truck or on top of a truck, and the fucking flies would drive you crazy.
Oh, I didn't even
Just-
think of that. Yeah, I suppose that's
Oh,
just
yeah.
caked underneath from driving in it and whatever. That sucks.
So
Okay,
just
so-
nothing but flies everywhere. If you try to eat in that tent, your plate's covered in flies, and your spoon is covered in flies until you get it to your mouth, and they make it out somehow.
Gross.
Holy crap.
That sounds terrible.
So,
Wow.
Fuck. Okay, well, okay, let's dial it back a little bit. Run us through the different kinds of welds,
All right,
like
you
we're
got-
kindergartners, because we still got to know what's going on here.
okay. So we've covered stick, covered torch. We've got MIG welding, which in the MIG welding machine, you'll have a spool of welding wire, which is just copper coated steel.
Yep.
You'll have a tank of gas, and they both run through the line to the gun that you hold that has a trigger on it. When you pull the trigger, it feeds wire out. That's what conducts your electricity to the other material, and then the gas comes basically just out of the shield and covers your arc weld. So
Okay.
similar to the stick welding, but it's actually a controlled gas that goes over it to keep your weld clean.
Now, when you were on deployment, were you just stick welding?
Yes.
You were just stick welding.
Yeah.
That was all
That's all we had.
that's all you had access to. And like you said, you just found that.
Yeah.
That was just like something that you're just like, the situation, I need to weld. I'm going to weld
Yep.
with whatever we got. Now, you just decided like, hey, when you get back out of deployment, how does that transition go where you're like, this is what I'm going to do now for the rest of my life?
Right. I mean, I liked it. And one of the things was probably the gratitude that I received from guys who were going out every day. You know, these guys are out, like where we were in South Baghdad, it was Solder City was 10 minutes away, and that was hot all the time.
There was just always
So,
crazy shit going on there.
Always. So, and then we were right on Route Pluto, which is where they ended up basically setting their Berlin Wall to keep Shiites and Sunnis on basically just separated, because those guys kill each other over being a different religion than the other one.
Damn.
So
Okay.
that was kind of their solution to that.
Interesting. So you're witnessing all this and being like, yeah, I want to do this exact same thing, just like maybe in a safer spot.
Yeah. So
that's what.
But yeah, I mean, I guess that was one of the big things that I noticed. Like, I liked being able to make stuff.
Yeah. Right.
Like, it was huge, and and then of course when people appreciate it, it's like, all right,
Yeah. Like, hey, I'm
get some
doing
feedback
something.
from this kind of stuff, and
I'm
people
doing
tell
something.
you they like it.
So
That's neat.
you've been welding for a long time. Obviously, when you go somewhere and, like, let's say you're looking at a trailer or just anything with welds on it, when you see a bad weld, does it just infuriate you?
No, I do chuckle a little bit though, because I know where that came from.
You're like, damn, this dude definitely couldn't weld well. You see
Yep.
a DACA trailer coming through, it's like, oof. I ain't buying that. Good luck with that, brother.
We'll leave brands out of it, but yeah, I notice them when they're there. I know that much. It's like,
Yeah.
I got to hit you with another hard-hitting question. Is it true when someone's welding you can't look at it? Because my dad told me not to watch someone weld unless you have a mask on, and I always thought that was bullshit.
that is absolutely true. Do not
So
look at
don't
the weld.
stare.
So essentially what it'll do, like if you notice my cheek right here, I'm
Yep.
peeling, it's not only because I'm a ginger. That is from me tacking stuff together, and I just close my eyes, so like my eyelids will get sunburnt.
Oh my God.
So if you're looking at a weld, your eyes will get sunburned.
Holy shit. Thank
So,
God I'm not
just
around a
so-
lot of welds.
I could have lied to you and just let you learn the hard way, but I didn't.
I remember as a kid, I was on my trampoline in the yard. My dad was welding maybe like 50 yards away. And I remember him saying, like, don't look, I'm going to be welding. And I remember being like, just quick sneak a peek. Just
You're like, yeah, he's
look
definitely
behind.
doing something. I got
50
it.
yards away, you're probably going to be okay.
Yeah, I just like quick snuck a peek. And it was the first time I ever remember looking at something super bright like the sun,
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like stuck in my vision and like I could
Yep.
see it.
Anywhere you look, you can see that
Yeah,
spot. So I
that
do
spot.
that all the time. I do that all the time.
Yeah, I remember
But then-
freaking out as a kid. I'm like, I'm gonna be like this for
I'm
the rest of my
fucked.
life.
Yeah.
I'll be like this forever.
He wasn't lying,
It's gonna stay
man.
that way. That's the one thing. Like you said, you make funny faces when you're a kid. They're gonna stay that way. Those don't.
Yeah.
That weld will though.
Yeah.
That'll stay there.
I tell you what, weld's always right here, brother. Weld stays right here,
Yeah.
right in
You
my
remember
heart.
that one?
So I mean, we've kind of been missing the biggest part of this whole interview is you starting your business, your side gig, which is now a legit business. But
It is.
what do you do?
I try.
Please explain.
So, literally everything. Dock repair, pontoon repair. So when I started my business, it was making custom aluminum dog kennels. And that was one of my buddies wanted one, and it my best friend, I should say, wanted one. He had a couple of hunting dogs. He essentially made his design for his own kennel, and I made it out of aluminum. Made it work for him.
So you're like, all right, I got something going on here.
Yeah.
I could turn this into something real.
Yeah. And I did that. I mean, that was kind of my main focus for probably the first 3 years were the dog kennels. And I ended up sending those things to Georgia, Alabama, Arizona, Nevada, sold
Wings
a bunch of them
North.
around here. I don't know if they ever bought one.
Did they never buy one? My dad's
They
got one
did.
on the back of his
It's-
side by side.
He does. No, he does. And we bartered very well for that. And it definitely worked out better for me. I know
Oh,
that
that's
for
funny.
sure.
That's funny.
So
Yeah, my dad's got a custom 3-dog one on the back of his side by side that has like
Yeah.
this tray. You unclip it, holds all this water for the dogs, and you can still get in the bed of the side by side from the tailgate. It's a sweet setup. It's a hell of a setup.
yeah. No, I am very, very proud of those. I don't advertise for them at all anymore. I still sell probably 10 a year or so.
Oh wow,
and
that's pretty good.
They go to places that I would never guess.
How do you ship them, or you
yeah,
have people pick
so
them
I
up?
actually no, I ship anything that has to go far away. I ship through Fastenal through their third party logistics.
Oh, okay, cool. That's
It
sweet.
takes
I didn't
a
even
while,
know you
but
could do
it's
that.
cheap. Yeah, it's awesome.
Damn, that's sweet. So now, what's the process look like from start to finish? How long does it take to make you one of these custom aluminum dog kennels?
So anything custom that I've done, I have found it's usually somewhere between 40 to 60 emails from the customer.
Yeah.
I respond back as much as I can. I'm not good about that. So I'm like, yeah, I got it.
Yeah, that
I
part
know,
sucks.
I know what you want.
I'm working on it.
I'm going.
I am so bad about that, and I feel bad about it because I know it's a big purchase for them, and it's no big deal to me. So it's tough to like convey back that excitement. I'm so bad I can't fake it. I know that much. I just can't.
Yeah, I can see that. You know, they're excited because they're getting exactly what they want, and it's a cool product, and you're just like, yeah, this is just an everyday thing for me.
Right.
You know, you can't match that level of
I
excitement.
do have a couple sitting in the pole barn that people were not too impressed with.
Oh, really? Where it's like the quality's not there, size not there?
It's not
what?
quality, just completely different ideas. So, and a lot of these are discussed out in the 40 to 60 emails that we go over and talk about height, width, basically cubic footage inside the kennels for their breed of dog, that kind of stuff. And
Yep.
You just can't please everybody.
Yeah, well, and that's really what it comes down to. You really can't. And that's part of the issue. So what do you think the key detail in dealing with customers in order to make a successful business or successful side business? How do you manage that? Like, what's the customer relationship got to be, or a certain standard that you keep it at?
I wish I had standards. I wish. That would be fantastic if I could set some boundaries.
So you just do you just kind of like treat
really
everything as a one-off thing where it's like every individual one is always just going to be so different. Every person's different. I'm just going to treat everyone individually.
I have.
Okay.
And I have 7 standard sizes that, people can go on the website. They used to be able to go on my website and pick those. I got hacked by China.
Nice. Nice.
Them damn balloons. Tell ya.
Mhm. Yeah, it was before that, but I haven't rebuilt it yet.
Well, I mean,
But
yeah,
as far as that, it's just, I don't know. Trying your hardest and doing all the cliche stuff that everybody tells you to all the time.
yeah.
And if it doesn't work out, then you tell them to fuck off, I guess.
Are you good at handling that moment where someone was like, "No, I don't want this," and that's why you have
No.
a couple sitting in your shed right now?
So I probably am on the surface. On the inside, I am ready to blow a gasket.
I bet, because you're putting your time, you're putting your heart into it. This is your work, this is your name, and for them to be like, I don't want it anymore.
Right.
That must kill.
And there's safeguards that I can set up and, against all that kind of stuff. I can generally deliver what people want or better. So when it happens, it's like, you know what? You just cut your losses. It's
Get it
time
over
for
with.
this one.
Yeah. Be down the road.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd like to learn when to say no, though, sometimes, too.
Absolutely. So, well, on a last note here, for someone that wants to get into the welding industry, what's like the one thing that you knew about welding before you got into it after all these years? What's like the one big takeaway? It's like someone who's getting into it, this is what I would recommend. Or maybe this is a little something I would tell them about it.
Yeah, don't look at the welding.
Yeah, good point.
That's a good one. Well, shoot, Bradey, thanks for coming on. Where can everyone find you? What is your side business? What's the at? Even though they can't get to it because China hacked it.
Correct. So it was MN Pro Metal Fab mnprometalfab.com. You can always email me at mnprometalfab@gmail.com.
For all your custom aluminum shit. If you want 2 pop cans put together.
Right.
You got that?
It's going to cost you.
nothing free, buddy.
You.
Nothing free. Well, thanks for coming on. Is there anything that you want to plug?
I would love to plug my last product that came out with fisharmorusa.com and their housing units for all the fancy new fish finders that everybody's so crazy about.
Oh, that's badass.
Oh, hell-
Go buy some fish armor gear. You're supporting Bradey.
I would appreciate it.
Hell yeah. Thanks for coming on,
Thanks
man.
for
We
coming on,
appreciate
Bradey.
it.